Hello class, thank you for joining this virtual lesson. I hope we're keeping up with the other virtual lessons. We've been really focusing on becoming more comfortable with multiplication and division, and if we're doing our homework, we should be becoming a bit more where we can think about it and not having to use those strategies. We still should, to make sure and double check, but really doing it in our head. So today we're going to be moving on to word problems. This is basically what we're going to be doing, the same thing with multiplication and division, but it's going to be in 1 to 2 step problems, and it's going to be in situations that are going to be different problems. So when multiplication and division becomes too hard, like for example, we're doing multiple steps, sometimes it's not as easy to think about that, and we really have to go back to using the notes in our graphic organizers as we've been learning. So for example, if you have 5 different friends and you all want to share candy equally, well, that can sometimes be hard depending on how much candy you have. And are you going to split equally? Are you not going to split equally? And figuring out the amount you're going to split. So for things like that, it's helpful to really see it down in words and to be able to process it a bit more. And then I have some strategies today that we're going to be learning. So some different types of strategies for word problems. The typical ones would be called a bar graph, a line graph, a pie chart, and equal groups. Those are all very different and they're used for different things. And I'll go into some examples later on, and we'll do some word problems with it. So some other things that you want to know is when you're going over word problems, there's some different things in it besides math where you're really going to have to use some of those reading skills that you should also be working on. So in the word problems, what's important is you have to be able to comprehend one, what is the question asking? So that's typically going to be either at the beginning or majority of the time will be at the end, where it'll say how much candy totally did you collect, how many friends, little things like that. And it's important to underline stuff like that to tell yourself, well, that's important, so I'm going to underline it so you won't forget what is the question asking. Because a lot of times you can get a question wrong because you're not understanding what is the question asking. Another thing is, a lot of times in word problems, you're going to be looking for specific data where sometimes it'll be information that's useful and sometimes it'll be information that's not useful. And so it's important to understand, one, again, like I said, understand what it's asking so you know what data you're using. Because a lot of times they'll try to trick you and add in information that's not exactly necessary, but you might think it is. And then thirdly, it's important to be able to read the question and understand which of those vocab words that I mentioned, the bar graph, the line graph, the pie chart, equal groups, and there's others. I'm just going to go over those for today, and in the other lesson I might go over some more to more emphasize on the importance of this. But different problems will use different strategies of those, and they all do different things. And so, like I said, we'll go over those later so you can better understand it. But those are just some typical strategies. Underlining and highlighting important facts is important. And I'm sure you've been learning this in reading. It's the same in math when you use in word problems. So I'm going to now go over, first I'll start with the bar graph. And I'll show you a bar graph I made online. And in different word problems, like after we go over these, I have a Socrative activity for you guys to do. And so it's really helpful to use these things. Use my examples as references because you might need to use them later on. So here's this cool website I found called metacharts.com. And they're really good. They have a variety of different charts that you can create. Now, some of these, like you can see, there's a bunch of different ones that we're not going to be doing. But for this, you see here with the different colors, it's representing different grade levels. I just did it for, on the bottom, I have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. And then Um, on the side going up, I just have number of students. So you see how it goes from 0 to 5 to 10 to 15, and it's going up by 5? So this one is really good. The bar graph is really good for comparing different things. So it's just the number of students in different classes. So this is saying in grade 1, you can go to the very top of this green bar or pillar or skyscraper, whatever you want to call it, and it has 23. So all that's saying is there's 23 kids in the grade 1 class. Same for grade 2, you can go to the top and see 19. So there would be 19 students in grade 2, and then grade 3 students would be 17, and grade 4 is 25. So this is really good for comparing. If a question was to ask you which grade level has the most students, you would say it would be grade 4, because not only do we know 25 is bigger than the next closest 23 or 19, because we know that, but let's say there wasn't the numbers there, you could see that in grade 4 that giant light blue pillar is taller than the others. So we can infer that it has the most students, even if we didn't have that number specifically with the 25. So that's what a bar graph's used for. Different things like that, typically comparing things. If it asks you how many, or who has the most, or who has the least, different things like that. So the next one will be a line chart or line graph. For this, it's the same thing, or it's similar, but this time, don't be confused about this, but it's important when you see one of these charts that we look on the labels on the sides. So on the side going up, I have grade levels this time going up. Remember last time on the bar graph bar chart, I had the grade levels on the bottom going left and right. So this time I have books read going left and right, and grade level going up and down. So you see how this line, it's going up, 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 up. So it shows trends. So we can see here that first dot for grade 1, it seems to align with 14. So we can infer that grade 1 read 14 books. Grade 2, that looks between 16 and 18, so we could assume 17. So grade 2 read 17. Grade 3 all the way over here seems to read 25. And grade 4 read, it appears, 27. So this is good when being asked like stuff like books read or miles, and just seeing the comparison where you see grade 1 and grade 2, there's not that big of a gap. There is a gap. Let's say 17 minus 4 would be 3. So that's a gap of 3. Whereas you look between 2 and 3, that's a really large gap. And we're going from 17 to 25. So if we did some quick subtraction, 25 minus 17 is 8. So we can really see different trends, and that we're going from 8 between grades 2 and grade 3 and 3. And that really shows a relationship in this line graph. So it can be really helpful when making trends or making inferences about relationships. So a question like this, an example of like an answer would be, what is the difference between grade 3 and grade 2 in books read? And so a line chart would be really helpful, act like that. So for a third one, a pie chart, this is a pie chart. And they call it that because it kind of looks like a pizza or a pie, and it's good for also comparing, but typically we'll use percents we haven't really gotten into yet. So this is just going to show color-coded. You see grade 1 over here is in the green. Grade 2 is in the orange, the big piece. Grade 3 is yellow, and grade 4. So it kind of helps you. Sometimes line graphs aren't the easiest to kind of understand, whereas this is a bit more visual, and you can really see that orange is the biggest piece, and it seems a lot bigger than green, but it seems like a little less than half of yellow and blue, and so it has its numbers next to it. This one's not as labeled very well, which you could label it better and say, we'll just say that it's about recycled cans collected, we can say that. So grade 2 would have collected 60 recycled cans, where grade 1 would have collected only 15. And so it's also good for making comparatives, but it is different than a line graph just in how it's represented. And when you get more advanced, they will start being used for different things. For the fourth one, using equal groups, I found this website that seemed to be really good with going over equal groups. This is a simple model which we can all do, but it can easily be modified to be more at your level. So it's just showing we have two groups, and they each have 2 dots in it, which should be equal groups. So it would easily be said the model has 4. So this can only be used. It's used with multiplication, so I'm sure you guys have seen it before, and I've introduced it. But it's also good in word problems. If, let's say, you have 28 pieces of candy and you want to split it between your 4 friends, you would make 4 groups, and you'd have 28. So you could go the way of adding 1 each time, and then start over, then add another 1 so everyone has 2, then everyone has 3, until you get down to 7. So that tells you if we did 28 divided by 4 is 7. So equal groups are really good because it'll also give you the multiplication and the division part if you look at it that way. Because we know 28 divided by 4 is 7 based off our equal groups. Then we also know 7 times 4 equals 28. So it's very helpful not only in word problems but in multiplication and division, and can be used for addition and subtraction very easily. It's a very versatile form of math. So now that we've kind of gone over those, I have a Socrative activity for us to work on. So if you could please take out your phone or your computers and enter the class code or the link. I'll send you guys a link for you, and I would like this to be done by by Friday. So it's just a series of word problems. I would advise that you use these strategies I've shown you. I put in some things in there like a line graph or a bar graph would be helpful. And they're all 2-step problems, so make sure after you've done your first step to look and read the question and underline where that second step might be. And remember how important it is to find the answer, find the important information, and use these strategies to help you do that. Thank you, and I hope to see you guys in the next class, and keep up with your working. I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.